Surgery not recommended for Eury Perez. The news that every single Marlins fan will be delighted to hear. Other news that every single Marlins fan will be delighted to hear. Sixto Sanchez has made the team. JD Martinez, however, has not made the team and is now a Met. Tons to get into, literally. On a Friday episode, this is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins _UK. If you listen to the pod, of course, hit subscribe and leave a review. This is your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Happy Friday, guys, to everyone. It's Friday, the 22nd of March. Don't forget to hit subscribe as well on the YouTube channel. That is also called Locked On Marlins. Join me on YouTube. Join me in the comments. Join everyone else in the comments too. It's a lot of fun there in that YouTube channel. This is going to be a action-packed episode. There's tons to get into here, guys. There is a lot happening. The Marlins aren't playing. It's been rained out. Rained out today's game. No tennis either. For those that follow tennis, the Miami Masters is rolling on, and that's been rained out as well. So, man, you're probably like just desperate for Locked On Marlins to drop. So here I am. Happy Friday, guys. Tons of news, though, today. A Craig Mish, Barry Jackson collabo article in the Herald. Equally, Peter Bendix meets the media. Skip Schumacher also. So we've got like tons of sound bites, tons of news. And if you're watching, you've got the graphics and the rundown to help you. You know what we're going to talk about. We're starting with the big news, literally the big news, that surgery not recommended for Eury Perez. Equally as big a bigger news and bigger story, actually, from this offseason. Sixto Sanchez has made the team. It's not a surprise if you've been watching through spring, but if you haven't been watching through spring and have been a Marlins fan forever, you know that Sixto has not pitched for the Marlins since 2020, and he's made this team. JD Martinez is a Met, and that's painful, I would say, from a Marlins perspective. Equally, we're going to talk about the offseason in general, the approach the Marlins have had, the opportunity they had, and maybe the opportunity that has kind of maybe passed them by. And also some further roster news that has to be discussed because, for me, he's been probably the standout offensive player for the Marlins, and that's Dane Myers, option to AAA, which at this point effectively locks up the Marlins offensive roster. So, as I mentioned, tons to get into. Let's start with the news around Eury Perez, though. He has visited the surgeon, Sandy's surgeon. That's how I'm going to know him, call him anyway. And it has come back that there is no tear, seemingly, and surgery at this point not recommended. Boy, oh boy, there's some beautiful words. Beautiful words. Eury's now, playing catch. Will be ramping up, will be managed, they'll take it steady with him clearly. But for me, like, clearly huge news because, to be honest with you, the way this was playing out, as I spoke about on Wednesday's episode, like, just my gut feel was there would just be an image drop of Eury with his arm having just been operated on and see you in 2025. So this is huge news. Clearly, Eury will start the season on the IL, and there's going to be some time missed for him. And how long that is, we'll wait and see. So it's not like, it's just this fingernail issue and, it's going to be pretty much ready for opening day. Like, he's going to miss at least a month, maybe more. Who knows? But considering what we thought it could have been, this is a boost. Definitely a boost to a rotation that needed a boost, frankly. And a rotation that needed a boost, not just in the short term, but the long term. Like, as this spring has, tracked along, man, you have to just feel concerned about where the Marlins are going to get these innings from, to be honest with you. And, if they'd have lost Eury as well, it would have been a huge blow. And it's not just about the innings. It's about trying to find the quality innings. And it felt like that was going to be a struggle, to be honest with you. So, man, this is probably best case scenario. I think is probably how we would describe it. So we have to be thankful for that. I think the Marlins, considering how they managed Eury last season, they're going to take it slow and steady with Eury Perez, which is the right thing. But we'll see. And who knows how the year goes. If he gets pitching and re-injures it, they have to do something else and divert and go away and do something. The reality is that it seems to be no structural damage and surgery not recommended. So some win. Feels like a win on a Friday, no doubt. Let's talk about Sixto Sanchez, because that equally feels like another fat dub. Another fat dub for the Marlins and the fans, to be honest with you. I'm thinking more about the fans. The reality is with Sixto, we just haven't seen him for so long. It is 3.5 years, effectively, since we've seen Sixto. And it's been the biggest buzz of a story, I would say, throughout spring. For me, AJ Puk has been the standout. But actually, if you incorporate the 3.5 years missed for Sixto, then that has been the biggest story, to be honest with you. The most surprising situation in many ways, in a good way. And now Skip Schumacher confirms that Sixto has made this team. What we don't know is what role he will play. The assumption at this point is he's making the bullpen and starting in the pen, considering he's not been, he went multi-innings once or so. We're interested to see what his role is. But yeah, the interesting thing with Sixto at this point is what does his 2024 look like? I think that's an interesting question. Are we writing Sixto off forever now in terms of starting games? Or is that still the plan? Is Sixto going to continue to work to be a starter? I think that's a really interesting situation here. So, we can't get too greedy. I'm not getting greedy at this point. Seeing Sixto back and looking like an effective dude that can get outs. I mean, it's a win, no doubt. Another win. But considering what we saw from Sixto in 2020 and how impressive he was as a starter, then that's got to be the goal, right? That has to be the goal. And if he's pumping the high gas, the changeup's working, the off-speed stuff's working, there's no reason why not. I know they're going to be careful with him, which makes sense. But I think as the year ramps up with Sixto, and maybe the injuries pile up for the Marlins, then, is it out of the equation that Sixto ends up starting games? Is it out of the equation that Sixto Sanchez is the saves leader for, this is the crazy thing for Sixto. He's made the team. And for me, all options are possible here. He could make multiple starts. He could potentially see save opportunities. He could be a multi-innings guy. He can be everything and anything. He literally could do it all. So, again, it's been the biggest of stories for the Marlins in the pitching this offseason. And I've mentioned it a few times in this pod. You just have to tip your cap to Sixto about making it back here to this point. It's going to have been really tough for him. Craig Mish on the Fish on First episode, Fish Unfiltered with the guys, was asked about Sixto, rightly so. It feels like Craig and Sixto will forever be connected now, it seems. And, Craig alluded to a few things there that, during this period, Sixto hasn't helped himself as well. And I think that's been pretty obvious that, maybe his attitude, his work ethic, these things that have been questioned, his desire. Does he want to do it? Can he do it? Does he want to do it? These things have been questioned. But right now, what we're seeing with Sixto on the mound in particular looks big league ready again, finally, which for me was probably one of the most surprising situations here. I remember Sean Barrett putting out the poll early on in spring, is the gas going to be under 92? And we're thinking, is this just a formality? Like, it felt at the start of spring that Sixto being DFA'd and maybe even retiring was the formality here. Where we've come, where we are now, it's pretty wild, to be honest with you. It's pretty wild, and it's a big story. And like I said, like for Sixto, all options are on the table here. You know, they're taking him steady, rightly so. He's working his way back up. We're now seeing multi-innings. We're seeing, you know, pitching on not back-to-back days, but near enough that. I know it's probably going to be starting out the pen, but what's to say he's not back in the rotation? And what's to say he doesn't light it up? And like someone said on Twitter a few weeks back, like, hey, that Realmuto trade isn't done yet. There's still some meat on that bone. Literally. Literally some meat on that bone. So, Eury Perez, big news. Sixto making the team, big news. I want to talk about some big news away from the Marlins, and that's about JD Martinez, who was signed with the Mets. Dane Myers, another offensive option here for the Marlins, will not be starting the season with the Marlins. Instead, he'll be down in AAA with the Jumbo Shrimp. Before we get into those topics, and they are going to be meaty topics as well, it's time to let you know about our good friends, of course, over at Ibotta. Yes, sir. Love the graphics for these guys too. So if you aren't watching, hook it up. Get into the graphics. But guys, Ibotta, it's a free app and it gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $145 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, buy that flight you've been eyeing, the game you've been dying to go to, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal or gift cards. Join the over 50 million savers and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That is IBOTTA for Ibotta in the Google Play or App Store, and use that code LOCKEDONMLB. Glorious. This episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. It's absolutely time for FanDuel, no doubt. And guys, say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. All right, guys, happy Friday and welcome back to Locked On Marlins with me, Peter Pratt. And it certainly is a happy Friday. Eury Perez, excellent news. Surgery not recommended. Surgery not recommended. He's going to work his way back, likely miss some time, start on the IL, but at this point, not expected to be out for the 2024 season. We will see Eury Perez, huge boost. We will also see Sixto Sanchez, who will make the opening day roster as a reliever. Skip talked about his rotation, what that looks like. We've got 4 names, by the way. We've got these 4 names, and we've got TBD. The 4 names: Jesus Luzardo, AJ Puck, Ryan Weathers, and Trevor Rogers. And then TBD. So Trevor's making it, seemingly. Few of us were a touch concerned about Trevor, like the velo was way down. Like, is Trevor okay? Seemingly he's making it. Skip mentioned that he thinks he knows who's going to get the 5th spot, but hasn't told them yet, or doesn't want to tell them yet. I don't know. Wait to see who that could be. George Soriano, Brian Hoeing could be options, I guess. We'll wait and see. See what the fifth man looks like. Sounds like Braxton Garrett is also trending in the right direction. Sounds like Eddie Cabrera is doing okay, but not progressing as quickly as maybe they would hope, but things are going okay. So all in all, whilst the rotation to start the year decimated, there's green shoots that if the Marlins can kind of hang tough for the first month and don't experience any other injuries or setbacks, then come the kind of back end of April, they could be looking back to kind of full strength rotation-wise, which frankly will be necessary, considering the way, the challenging division they're in and the offense and maybe some of the challenges we're likely to experience, considering it's effectively the same offense as last year, which was poor. So the rotation needs to stand up. And the first month is going to be interesting. Very interesting. The other interesting thing about that is, in my opinion, and this is based off of just last season's records and maybe expectations, in my opinion, the opening month is relatively soft for the Marlins in terms of their schedule. They do play the Braves twice in that period. But honestly, beyond that, it's not crazy. I think the Yankees are in there too. Again, depends which part of the rotation you catch with the Yankees. Does it even matter? Depends who's hot with the Yankees. Who knows? Anything's possible with them guys. But I look at it and I think, okay, it looks relatively soft to start in comparison. It could have been worse. And the Marlins are missing 3 of their projected starters for this season. 4 if you include Sandy, which we knew about already. So, the pitching is going to be a lot of pressure on the starting rotation, but it feels like it could be the right time for them to be missing those guys. Brax, Eddie, Eury, then work it back, and they join the club, and then let's go. The key bit's going to be to just stay in contention. Stay in contention, just not let things get out of hand early. No panic. Let's not panic. I'll probably be panicking, to be honest with you, if the Marlins get swept at home by the Pirates, but we'll see. You know me. So let's talk about a guy that would have definitely helped the offense that won't be helping the offense, and that's JD Martinez. Overnight, for me anyway, it was announced that he was signing a 1-year deal with the New York Mets. It had been reported that the Mets were in on him, as were the Angels. The Marlins had spoke to him, but no formal offer was made. In the end, Martinez signs for $12 million. 4.5 of that is this year, and then the rest is deferred money. I have to be honest, it's pretty frustrating that the Marlins decided not to go down this path with JD Martinez. And there's a few reasons why they decided not to. The first reason is, and the reason that's been put out there by Skip, Peter Bendix maybe, is the fact that they are going to look to use the DH spot for effectively a cycle or a carousel between Bell and Berger, maybe a little bit of Arias or whatever it might be, but basically Bell and Berger will cycle the DH, and then they'll kind of mix Birdie in there, etc., etc. So I understand what they're doing. I don't know who the backup first baseman is, to be honest with you. I assume that's Luis Arias. I assume maybe it's Berger. I don't really know. I guess that's like an obvious thing with this roster right now, and the way it's built is like there's no real obvious kind of backup first baseman. So who knows? But kind of anyone can play first base. It doesn't really matter. But with JD Martinez, the fact is that he offers no... He's a pure DH. He offers nothing in the field. So that does create a challenge for organizations and the way that, rosters are constructed. In my opinion, though, I believe there was a way to mitigate that, and the way that, that Hoy Soler effectively was DHing primarily, most of the time. So I get where they're going with that, but I look at JD Martinez and I see the level of production in the stick for the dollar value and the commitment. He only got the 1-year deal. He was seeking 2. JD Martinez, he got a 1. The Marlins should have been in on that. They even did a buy now, pay later contract. The Marlins absolutely could have done that. And frankly, the production is required. It's required. And the thing is, if the Marlins in this offseason, this is what bothers me the most. There's never been a more favorable trading condition, i.e. A free agent condition signing period, than this offseason for the Marlins. This has been the perfect fit where there's so many dudes that can offer value and are willing to take way below market deals and a one-year deal as well. It's been the perfect conditions for the Marlins, to be honest with you. So many guys they could have added. And in the end, you end up with a single guy at Tim Anderson, which could be a great signing. Don't get me wrong. But in this offseason, where effectively the free agent market has crashed, and all of these like 30-plus vets that have a long track record of success at the big league level, they're left with nothing. They're left signing $1.5 million one-year deals. So it's very surprising to me that in those situations, the Marlins have only signed Tim Anderson and Tim Anderson alone. It's very puzzling, to be honest. JD Martinez in particular, I've spoken about him multiple times in this pod. I feel like the Marlins badly need JD Martinez. And I get what they're saying. We're going to use the DH for these guys that are already on the roster. The problem with that and that strategy is, and we'll realize this pretty quickly into the year because it happens every year. What happens when one of these guys goes down? What happens when Bell, is out for a couple of weeks and Berger is out for a couple of weeks, or Brian De La Cruz hurts himself, running into the wall in left field, or Avisail Garcia, well, who knows? Anything's possible. Like, what happens then? All of a sudden, you're then left thinking, okay, well, what's our depth? Where are we going to turn to for our depth? You're then left turning to, what are you left turning to? I don't know, Xavier Edwards? Like, this is a different caliber of stick here. For me, I would have seen JD Martinez. I would have seen the production. I would have seen the contract structure, and I would have pulled the trigger, and I'd have worked it out after. That's what I would have done. For me, a no-brainer. $12 million with deferrals, like a buy now, pay later for JD Martinez. No-brainer for the Marlins, to be honest with you. No-brainer. I have no idea why they couldn't. Even if you sign JD Martinez with the plan of, well, we need Josh Bell to, DH a couple of days, then sit JD Martinez. You've got no commitment to him beyond this year. Like, if you need to get Josh Bell off his feet and you feel like you have to bench JD Martinez because you want to prioritize Josh Bell's stick, then fine. Use the bench. I'm astounded, to be honest with you, about the level of missed opportunity that we're seeing. Because what happens when the injuries kick in with these offensive guys? Luckily, in spring, we haven't had that. Xavier Edwards has had some of it, Bruhan recently too, but like the big guys that are really going to impact this offense, none of them through spring have had any issues. But what happens when we get this season rolling? Everyone's going full gas, and people are trying to steal bags, and the pressure's on, and everyone's amped up. People get hurt. And for me, JD Martinez being there as an option, even if he was, just taking 400 plate appearances and that's it. That's it. It's fine. It's fine. He's an amazing backup plan. Amazing one. And frankly, once the season got rolling, like, I'm pretty sure JD Martinez would have ascended. And to that point, like I've already said, like there's other guys that if you need the flexibility on the roster right now, you could have created it. You sign JD Martinez and you think, well, we don't want to cut Avisail Garcia because we don't want to cut the money. So you sign JD Martinez. You don't want to cut Avi. Fine. You can option Brian De La Cruz. I'm not saying I want to option Brian De La Cruz, but I'm saying there's flexibility to make that decision, to send Brian De La Cruz down if you have to allow you to sign Martinez and wait until the next guy gets hurt, and then you bring De La Cruz back up, and you've got true major league quality depth to keep the offense rolling. Like, wouldn't it be great if someone got hurt and you go, great, we can promote Brian De La Cruz. Right now, someone gets hurt, we're saying, great, we can promote Griffin Conine. I mean, that'd be a fun story, but it isn't Brian De La Cruz, and the track record isn't there. So frankly, I'm stunned by this situation, that the Marlins didn't do it with Martinez, particularly because it ended up being a one-year deal, and particularly because of the contract structure. And for me, the argument that we want to use the DH spot to use Bell and Berger, for me, it doesn't fly. It doesn't fly. And if you want to, like I said, you can easily manage it. You can easily cycle the guys around. You know, you can give JD a day or two off as well. You chill over there, JD. We want Berger DH in because he needs a day or two. And Birdie plays third. I don't know. It's been a weird offseason in general. But the weird thing is, it's the perfect buying conditions for the Marlins. And they haven't bought anyone apart from Tim Anderson. That, for me, is the strangest situation. Final ad, I want to talk about Dane Myers as well, because he has been optioned to AAA, so he won't be making the opening day roster either, even though he's had a stunning spring. Before we do that, this episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Amazon Fire TV. And Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball, that's very soon, that's next weekend, or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV lets you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all of the latest in the world of sports. Let me get that right. March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and those cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. And to learn more, visit amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Pardon me. Welcome back to Locked On Marlins. It's Friday, the 22nd of March. We've had some great news. Great news. Eury Perez is working his way back. Wow. My watch is talking to me now as well. So, surgery not recommended for Eury Perez. Sixto is making the roster. He's making the opening day roster, which is wild. JD Martinez is a Met, and I've had a 14-minute rant around that, why the Marlins have surprised me that they didn't go after JD Martinez, particularly considering it ended up being a one-year deal and a deferred deal. Buy now, pay later for JD Martinez, and the Marlins decided not to go down that path because they would like to prioritize using the DH position to cycle Bell and Berger effectively. Speaking about other roster news, Dane Myers option to AAA today. What I would say with Dane Myers is, what a spring, sir. What a spring Dane Myers has had. I've spoke about him a couple of times during this offseason. I would have spoken about Dane Myers multiple times during last season. For me, when Dane Myers came up, I didn't know a ton about him. And you know, guys, that I buy with my eyes. That's how I buy. I don't look at the numbers, the exit velos, the BABIPs, none of that. I'm an old school dude, and I buy with my eyes. And listen, when I saw Dane Myers playing for the Marlins last year, I was all in. I fully bought into what I saw with Dane Myers. So I'm all in. I'm all in on Dane. Headed into this spring, just calling it out that I could see Dane Myers. You know, one of the biggest surprises here could be that Dane Myers makes the team. Why that would be a big surprise is, well, fundamentally, his path is blocked. And so it would have been a surprise because the Marlins would have had to have eaten the money with Avisel Garcia, probably, or someone got hurt. Nevertheless, Dane Myers, after a stunning spring, ends up down in AAA and effectively becomes the next guy up. Dane Myers will get significant amounts of playing time for the Marlins this year. I'm convinced of it. I am convinced of it. And I know I've just spent 14 minutes saying that the Marlins don't have any depth at AAA and that they should have signed JD Martinez, and they could have, if they weren't willing to eat the Avisail Garcia money, option Brian De La Cruz down there. To be honest with you, it wouldn't stun me if Dane Myers has a better year than Brian De La Cruz in 2024. We'll wait and see. Brian De La Cruz, to be honest with you, whilst he's okay, like, versus the projections anyway, Brian De La Cruz you're projected to be like, bottom 5 left fielder, seemingly. I guess that incorporates everyone that could play left field for the Marlins, but that's a position of significant weakness for the Marlins, and that's where Brian De La Cruz is slated to start at this point. So, I think for De La Cruz, it's an interesting season generally, but I'm a fan of Dane. You're probably getting that. I'm all in. I was all in before spring, and I'm even more all in than I was. I mean, can you be double all in? I am on Dane Myers, and he's going to have a role to play, no doubt about it. There's talk about Avisail Garcia having a short leash. We'll see. I want Avi to do well. I want everyone to do well. But equally, I get the sense that Dane Myers could outperform. To be honest with you, I get the sense that Dane Myers can outperform Brian De La Cruz and Avisail Garcia's production combined this year. Is that a hot take? Probably not. But Dane Myers isn't on the roster, not linked to his performance. And that's always a frustrating thing for fans, because as a fan of a team, you want the best players on the field at that time to give you the best chance of winning. It's a weird, strange part of sports and baseball. And right now, Dane Myers has been optioned. It's got nothing to do with his performance or his ability to perform. Dane Myers should be on this roster, but he isn't. There's reasons why. Those reasons link primarily at this point to, well, a few guys. It isn't just Avisail Garcia. It links to Vidal Brujan and Nick Gordon as well. I think to be fair, Nick Gordon has probably earned a spot as well. But it links to Vidal Brujan without minor league options. It links to Jesus Sanchez, no minor league options. Like, constructing these rosters, there's a lot of things in play. Avisail Garcia we know about. But really, this is the frustrating part. Dane Myers, considering what he's produced in spring, should be on the opening day roster, but won't. But nevertheless, we're going to see a ton of Dane. So, guys, it's going to wrap us up for Friday's episode on Locked On Marlins. There's been a ton to get into. I've probably missed a few sound bites along the way. There's just been so much happening today and so much news going on. I started with the JD Martinez news, which, as you can sense, has angered me a touch, to be honest with you. It's frustrating when the type of guy that can be a difference maker for your offense, in an offense that is certainly looking to be below par again, the Marlins don't end up doing it. It's frustrating, even when he's willing to sign a deal that is team-friendly to someone like the Marlins. Head-scratching, to be honest with you. Eury Perez, great news. Sixto Sanchez, great news. Braxton Garrett trending in the right direction. Eddie Cabrera trending in the right direction. Dane, unfortunately, trended in the wrong direction, but we'll see him soon. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on these topics, guys. There's a lot that I've covered today. Let me know your thoughts. Guys, I'll be back probably over the weekend for an episode. It feels like a lot is happening right now. So I'll look forward to seeing you over the weekend, keeping you up to date with everything going on in Marlins land. And guys, just a heads up, next week, it's opening day. Have a great weekend, guys. Have a great Friday. I'll see you next week.